CPU all over the place. Okay, let's see what we can do. One problem I have with this stream or with showcasing the template is due to the live stream setup and me right now sitting in my kind of small studio with a laptop. That's the noise you hear every now and then from the back. It's very demanding on the CPU, so there's a little bit of issues with pops and crackles, so I ask you to excuse that. So I did 2 streams the last days on my trailer template, and a lot of stuff that I'm doing there reflects in this template as well. But this is, as I've said, the big one, my big production music template, where I try to cover most of the grounds that I need in my day-to-day work and writing and working on different kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's just jump straight in and see what all this is about. Feel free to send your questions my way, whatever it is. I try to answer them in the course of looking at the stuff. Okay, let's jump straight in. Here we go. So the basic rule of thumb, I have 3 machines, 3 PCs, 2 with 64 gigabytes RAM each and 1 with 128. I'm using the Ensemble Pro to host the majority of the instruments, or pretty much all of the instruments. And so you can see this is my main PC upstairs, i9. This is regularly my working PC that I usually work on. Right now it's running an instance of VE Pro. Then I have my slave machine. That is pretty packed. So if we look at that, close to 90 gigs of RAM utilizing. And then the the laptop that I'm working on right now, which also hosts a few instruments in VE Pro, and of course Cubase. And when we look at the task manager here, VE Pro has 30 gigs loaded, and Cubase is pretty busy with all this stuff, especially with the live stream and the video capture software going on at the same time. Can you tell me which reverb you have on the piano? Of course I can. So most of my reverbs is pretty much Valhalla vintage for the most part. So when we look at the effects channels, the keyboard reverb on the piano is this one, 2.19. Actually, I wanted to increase that a little bit. Anyway, so Valhalla vintage verb for a lot of the stuff. Strings, also Valhalla brass. I think it's most of the time it's the same stuff. And there's quite an assortment of different think this one utilizes a little bit of no, actually it doesn't. I thought it used a little bit of black hole. So different sounds for different needs. Woodchester piano. Do you use impulse response reverb like EV spaces too? I used to, but I don't use spaces in this template. So this is all algorithmic reverbs. A little bit of e-piano. So, do you EQ the reverb? For the most part, yes. So, for the most part, it's actually just a low cut to get rid of any rumble that the reverb might create. I would say let's just go through from top to bottom. Look at some of the libraries that are in this template. So, starting off with Nucleus. Just realizing that these strings go to the wrong reverb. Actually, they need to go to the long, not to the short. So that's nice. Ensemble sound. Love that sound. And depending on what I need with the sound, I can just dial down the reverb. So, well, minus 15 or something. So, what reverb on the strings? Same again. Valhalla, vintage verb, random space, medium, hall. So it's pretty much an emulation of the lexicon reverb. Funnily enough, I do have the lexicons, but the Valhalla is way more efficient on CPU. So lots of Valhalla in this. Fluid shorts. And they have this hilarious pre-delay of 127, but when you actually put it to the grid, it sounds really good. So what are we at? Say 110. Do some 16th notes here. So when you put it to click, so that works really good. It's just important that you have the correct track delay settings in here. Next in line, cinematic studio strings, all-time favorite. Actually, that is one of the few libraries in here that doesn't utilize individual articulations, but key switching, respectively expression maps. So when I go into track and change the articulation to, for example, tremolo. Oh, that was not intended, but you get the idea. So cinematic studio strings, longs as well. How do you usually start making a track from piano and chords? It really depends. Sometimes it's a melody, sometimes it's just a sound that triggers inspiration, especially when you look into the synth department. And oftentimes it's just fiddling around with a piano. And then on the other hand, it also depends on what specifically I aim for with the track. So do we want to have a tension track, a dramedy, comedy, horror, whatever type of stuff, and that oftentimes determines the choice of instruments and the choice of chords or sounds. So I know I want to have something tense, tension underscore or something. I usually turn to some kind of ARP sounds from the get-go. So that's just a G note there, and that already can trigger an idea. But we will get to the synth section in a little bit. Let me finish I hope to make it short, a little walkthrough of the instruments used. So we were at cinematic studio strings. Next in line will be Metropolis Arc 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I have set up the template in a way that for libraries that allow microphone control, so the Spitfire, a lot of the Spitfire libraries have these close, tree, outrigger, and ambient, and they are mapped from CC22 onwards. So 22 usually is closed, CC23 is tree, etc. And for the sake of having it easier when working, I have reprogrammed pretty much all my libraries that I use to utilize these same controls. So for example, I mean, you can't see that right now, but on these knobs here on the S61, I have 4 knobs that are 22, 23, 24, and 25. And what this allows me to do is this little MIDI bit in the beginning defines the initial state of this specific instrument. So for example, with the Metropolis Arc series, it would be close and tree equally at 0 dB. But what I can do, I can turn down the tree, for example, completely. So that way I can have individual control, just use the tree or both in combination. Do use layering in strings, of course, all the time. So I layer a lot. Sometimes when you have spiccatos from the Metropolis Arc series, and then layer that with flute shorts, or flute shorts and cinematic studio strings is a great combination. Or thickening up stuff utilizing both ensemble sustain patches from Nucleus and cinematic studio strings. And again, sorry for any noises. This is due to the fact of live streaming at the same time, and this template is pretty much optimized to just work on its own with everything else, closed browsers and everything, because it's pretty demanding overall. But it works fine when not a ton of other apps are open at the same time on my system. Anyway, so Metropolis Arc series, the short strings we have very good to compare. For example, if you and this Metropolis Arc 2, or 3. All the repetitions from Metropolis Arc 3, and actually these sync to your not to your browser, to your DAW. So you get the idea. And then you can layer Metropolis Arc 2 and 1. One reverb on all strings are different. I have a differentiation between long and short strings, so it's the same reverb essentially, but due to the routing in the whole template, I have one for short, one for long, but it's the same reverb. And then depending on each library, the amount that gets fed into the reverb differs. So on the flute shorts, for example, let's take the violin, there's no reverb at all, because they are very, very wet. And by the way, here, I don't even know if I did it, but I think here's the same with the mic positions. So yeah, I did it. So I have the mic position control for these as well, and can dial in a different tone depending on what the track needs. And afterwards, I decide how much this signal gets sent to the reverb. Just resetting everything. The Metropolis Arc 4, which is great for layering as well, especially due to the smaller section sizes. Hello there, power legato. can't read the names. There we go. Overpressure Mercado. That's really cool. So Metropolis Arc 4. Lows as well if you need a little bit more definition in the basses. So that's cool. Then the whole time macro stuff, time micro and time macro. There's something that I recently added. I missed the question. What projects are you currently working on, and where can hear your music? There's a bunch of stuff recently released on digital platforms through DocuScores. If you look for that, there's a bunch of my music published there. That's my new production music label that I have together with my partner. And we just released a bunch of stuff on digital outlets. So if you look for DocuScores in your preferred digital store, you can listen to a bunch of cues that I've done, but also a bunch of other composers. And yeah, SoundCloud, you find some stuff. If you look for my name on Spotify, you find some stuff. So in those tiny MIDI clips in the beginning of each track, you program mic positions manually with mouse, or you press record from the first bar and change them from S61. Exactly. So I never change this MIDI bit in the beginning. This always stays the same because this MIDI bit defines my initial status. And if I, for example, want to have, I don't know if I did it on the, no, actually these don't have the mic control yet. So let's go to these. So from the get-go, room and close are the same settings. So when I, for example, just want to use the close position without the room, then I record that later. So, and then this sound is defined in here. So by bringing that mic position down in the initial MIDI bit in the beginning, there we go. You can hardly see, but there we go. So this is the initial setting. I think 84 translates to 0 dB in the Metropolis Arc series. So this is where it starts. So when I apply this, and then mic changes. So that way it gets recorded into the track. When I forget to record the microphone positions into this area, then it resets to the initial setting. So where were we? Why is my chat not auto-scrolling? You understood. Great. So time macro, time micro. If you want to know more about these libraries, I did a dedicated stream on that. These are also great for layering and putting some life underneath an existing track. Really cool. Love that. And then you have the clockwork. Also synced to the DAW. Time micro is pretty much the same thing, just in smaller section sizes. So that gives a lot of sonic choices for different types of music. So then next in line, I just got these Spitfire solo strings. So all the way down to cello and basses. And the same applies here to the mic position. So when I, for example, this is the tree initially loaded, if I just want to have the close position. By the way, there we go. I'll bring the ambient layer all the way up as well. And just initializing in the beginning, and we're back to tree. Really cool stuff. And I still have the Berlin solo strings in here as well. Sometimes it's just good. Hello. Oh, there we go. Sorry, drop out. I have no idea what's happening with my mic. What is up? But as I've said, system behaves pretty strange with streaming and the template at the same time. But I try my best to get through it. Craig, good to see you. What up? Not much, just stumbling through my template and fighting some performance issues with streaming and having the big bad boy on at the same time. So what I love about the Berlin series, the strings, for example, the spiccato, to combine these and use them all at the same time. Really cool sound like that. Next in line, can't miss these Spitfire chamber strings. Same here. Could combine the spiccatos, for example, just for the highs. And and say I want just the close sound, not the tree. Really nice. One of the perfect cue starters is the ensemble long flautando. Really cool sound. Then some string effects. There's not much in here. Some good old Symphonia stuff. Really looking forward to Symphonia 4 coming, I think, next week. I mean, these sounds have been so overused, especially in reality TV, but well, it is what it is. Chamber Evolutions, great. What are some of your favorite things to do chord progression wise? That is actually a really good question. I mean, thinking of pop music, I love to go with the good old 6-4-1-5. And then just interchanging a little bit, give it some spice. For example, when this case C major or A minor, keeping the E on top for F major 7. And even on the G. Like the E as a pedal note through all the chords, that's just plain great. Then another one, very famous, from C major to A flat major, or maybe. And this corresponds also to changing between C major and F minor. So, but I don't really have favorite chord progressions, but I end up using a lot of D minor is one of my favorite keys. Harmonic relativity is something I find inspiring. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff out there that you can do. But on the other hand, it's only 12 notes. But that gets a lot of possibilities to combine these. How the distance between chords creates a certain feeling or mood. Yeah. I love interchanging with a tritone from C to F sharp, for example, or even just utilizing it in a chord to create a tension cue. We do this as there's an instant cue right there for a tension track. Say go to 80. And on top of that, just first of all, quantize. That alone is, especially with this stuff from time macro, I use the I mean, that's very soft. And then flageolet tremolo, for example. So, I mean, you get the idea. So, you can easily start going with that kind of stuff. Where were we at the chamber evolutions? I love that sound. Spitfire Swarm, also great for texturing and putting layers on top. So that's for the strings, brass. I don't want to go too much into detail. Trailer brass for when we need some beef and that's just the horns. Talos from Audio Imperia. That's, I think, yeah, that's Craig, Sound Iron. That's the Sound Iron brass that they did for Native Instruments. Just the sustained horns. I love these for chords, especially in trailer tracks. So, next one, trailer trombones. So, is the brass the same Valhalla? Pretty much, yes. The brass reverb is, I think, yeah, it's exactly the same. It's just a different instance, but the same settings. Actually, I wanted to put the brass on like 3. Let's see how that sounds. Or maybe put it back to 2.2. Something like that. So then we have the horde. So the trailer brass is music assembling. What are your thoughts on century strings and brass? Good libraries, but a template can only be so full. So I can't just have everything in there. It's cool stuff. You can get a lot of mileage out of these 2 libraries, especially the brass is really good. The small number of brass instruments, it's only for this current template, or you just not use other libraries very often? Well, I hope this answers your question. Boop, 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 boop. I don't think that my amount of brass instruments is small. I guess. This first folder is just like trailer brass. Then we have Jaeger. Trumpets. Very bad drop out there just right now. As I've said, I need to, so I'm using a voice meter to get my ASIO Cubase signal into the stream, and that messes up pretty much up everything. So sorry for any audio issues. Trombones. Also Jaeger and the tubas. Then we have Cinematic Studio Brass. I love that, especially for the soft layers. That's the smoothest transition I have ever heard in any brass library. So this one is really, really good. Cool stuff. Then good old Symphobia again, some brass. How often I have heard that sound on some kind of cliffhanger in reality TV. But well, Symphobia never gets old. Then the whole Metropolis Arc series. bunch of stuff there. I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to auto scroll. Liverman Lee, hi. Hi, good to see you. So yeah, Metropolis Arc. Love the chimbassi. Yeah. And I mean, where Metropolis Arc shines is when you just layer these instruments. Rackerswald. Hi. So, big sound there. Then we have time macro micro again. I mean, these are articulations you can create with any sample library with multi-samples. You need to record these type of phrasings. Coffee time. Cheers. So then we have time micro, which is more individual instruments. Very cool stuff. Slow-mo trills. For some kind of tension moment. Will they get the photo? Synth bus below, done. Some cool stuff in there. Moving on, so this is the brass section. Let's move on to, I mean, woodwinds are a little bit of a stepchild to me. I don't use them too much. Honestly, I'm just not really good at woodwind writing. Berlin woodwinds all the way on these. And then again, time macro. Cool sounds there. Time micro ensembles is yeah, I got Hollywood woodwinds here, mostly for the run stuff, which has been overused as well, but it is what it is. Spitfire Swarm. Very cool. Moving on, so that is the woodwind section. Percussion. I mean, percussion needs to cover a lot of ground. from trailer hybrid tension stuff to all kinds of world type music, and just you can never have enough percussion. Starting off with the epic stuff. ADO. Frame drum. Really cool stuff. I think I put my CC5, which controls time and in a lot of cases, on the release. So when that is too dry, too wet, so you can make it more dry. ATO Tom's good all-time favorite. Decimator. I think unfortunately that library was discontinued and is not available anymore. On each percussion is individual reverb. No, I have one. Well, reverb has 3 different reverbs, depending on what I need. So I have a short, medium, and long. And each instrument gets... the long is usually just for special effects or stuff like that. But I can route these individual stuff. For example, the Decimator has no reverb at all on the lows. But I could send it to the percussion medium. Medium, for example. Or if you want to go really crazy. That's what I call a long reverb. Would you mind sharing your template file? Yes, I would. Mind, that is, not share. Cerberus is silent because it's not connected. I think that's back from my trailer template, and I didn't include Cerberus in this one. But Armageddon is there. So all the damage stuff, and separated to low and high. And even on damage, you can control the mic position. So I can say I want to have more. By the way, there. So when we look at the actual GUI, which is somewhere up here, there we go. So I have these controls here on my S61, CC 22, 23, and 24, which is the Spitfire standard for the mic positions. And when I move these, I can control these. So that's a lot of possibilities just within one sound to have move the percussion further in the back, have them more up front, more in your face. And then you still, of course, have damage punish knob to take it to extremes if you need to do so. So that's cool. Back to the beginning and initialize. Then we have I actually just recently went back into Damage and realized how much good stuff is in there. I mean, most people tend to get stuck on the Armageddon ensemble and then they're done. But there's so much more stuff in there that is really, really good. Great for tension moods, these little ticking. Really cool stuff. Ethnic drums. Some kick drums in case needed. Really cool stuff. Metal menus. Really cool stuff. That's the type of effects you hear all over these survival shows. So you can do, I mean, it's actually hilarious. You can really put down like a drone sound. Let's take. An easy way to create atmospheres. Ram, you sure that information belongs into this chat? But thanks anyway. Appreciate it. What What do you think about the damaged plastic ensemble drums? Great too. Any means of communication, there you go. So after that we go into loop territory. So these are the master ensemble loops. I didn't put too many of them. But I have the 8th version and the triplet version. So, I mean, you know the drill. If you have ever worked with some kind of damaged product, you are familiar with their loops. So there's a lot of stuff in there. I don't have too many because I tend to get away from using too many loops. I rather create on my own. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite libraries. Sorry, there we go. No, come on. There we go. This is the Evolution World Series World Percussion. One of my absolute favorites. This has saved my bottom end quite a few times when working on some world music briefs that I did for Discovery Channel and stuff like that. Really good stuff. Again, 4 mic positions, also controllable with the same setup that I have for the other libraries. So you can, and these really react really good. So I want to say that's too roomy. I want to say we want to put it further back in the room. And this library comes with a ton of pre-made loops that kind of give a hint of what this is actually intended to be played like. And there's just so much stuff in there. It's hilarious. Just going through some of these. That's a nice slow in there. And then we go into the Middle East. Are you still operating this template on one machine with VE Pro? No, this template is sitting on 3 machines, so even my main system would not be able to handle this. So I have my major slave, which was my old master machine. I think we don't say anymore master and slave, so but for the lack of better words right now, I keep calling them that. So this one is running on 128 gigs of RAM. 95 I used for the stuff loaded. and this is my AMD Ryzen processor in that one. And this right here, so I'm accessing these other PCs through remote desktop, so they're actually upstairs in my actual studio. So right here I'm in my studio B, if you want to call it like that, so just my little one. So that upstairs, that's actually my main machine, and that has 64 gigs of RAM and the i9 9900K. And that utilizes right now 41 gigs of RAM of these 64, and is only host having vPro. And the machine I am on here right now, this is my laptop actually, so my mobile rig, but I still use it within my current setup. So this right now runs Cubase and Vienna at the same time. So we call them nodes or workers now. Okay, good to know. So Vienna Ensemble Pro sitting here at 30 gigs, and Cubase is running on this. And the cool thing about this setup with my upstairs studio and downstairs studio, so I can work on a track here, save it. It's all saved in Dropbox and automatically syncs to my PC upstairs, so I can, when I go keep on working upstairs in the studio or want to record something, I can open the same session from the Dropbox folder and keep working. It's all connected, so that's pretty cool. I just love the world percussion sounds. They have all the regions: Mid East, Asia, South America, Europe. Then there's some bunch of extra stuff. I love this little library, is a gem, really. That's the modwheel controllable cymbal rolls from Loops de la Creme. Neat little library. So you can, and we have a bunch of different cymbals. Love that effect. Does the noise of the coolers in the main studio bother you, or have you taken the master and one of the slaves out of the room? Exactly that. So right now I'm actually getting crazy by the noise of my laptop. I just ordered 2 active HDMI cables to actually put the laptop into the closet and close the door. To get rid of the noise. If I have RX on my voiceover mic channel here. If I turn that off, well, I think I have a gate somewhere there. So there we have a gate. So this is the actual noise level. And I have RX on that too. Have it a little bit more bearable, but yeah, it's really distracting. So upstairs my main machine is with me, but that's a silent case, so you don't hear that no matter how hard it works. And the other 2, so like the slave down here and the other worker, the one worker down here, which is my laptop, and the other is outside of the main studio upstairs, so there is no noise there. Very atmospheric. Yes. Yay. Now let's get rid of that. So where were we? We looked at this. Then again, Loops de la Creme, nice little library for, especially for like Americana stuff and things like that. It's a jaw harp library. And has different round robins on the same key. And this was actually just in one key. And what I did is, because I wanted to have them available in every key, so I determined utilizing 16 instruments, or 12 actually, and let me open that up. I just don't know where it is. Maybe it's not. Nah, yeah, it's not here. It's in my ethnic instruments instance, I think. Slave. No, it's. Anyway, what I want to say is that I can change the MIDI channel and have different keys. And if you want to have a specific type of articulation with that jaw harp, you can utilize them in the low keys. Anyway, nice little instrument. Same with the tambourine stuff. Then another library that I love, and actually I'm planning to do a more in-depth stream on this one, is flying hand percussion. It's actually pretty old, but it sounds just amazing. Volume a little bit up. Really cool stuff. Any chance for watching this later? Maybe. I'll see. So yeah, flying hand percussion. Pretty cool stuff. Especially the 22 frame drum is great. Nice. Then we have all the classic percussion, the stuff that we all love and use. Metropolis arc, low booms. Always good to have. Taikos. Low ensemble from Metropolis Archer. I love that these are mapped to all the same keys, so you can select different articulations and have like these incredibly huge ensembles. That's really cool. Marching at the marching bass. Maybe some rims on top. Cool stuff. Then we have Hans Zimmer percussion, Junkie XL mixes. little bit of Cineperk. Come on. A little bit more boat symbol. So yeah, that stuff. Sticks and tickies. I mean, we all know that sound with that string tremolo. In these good old 80s action movies. Tambourine. A little bit more the Sony sound. This is not East-West. Ethno World 6 from Best Service. So drums is actually I wanted to add some more. So right now I have just a slate drum kit. And it's pre-mixed, at least in the basics. So we can take a look at the mixer if you want to. Let me open that up. VST instruments. Percussion, where are you? So there we go. And we have SSD. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on there. Just recently grabbed Smash and Grab from Get Good Drums. Really, really good. I mean, that kick drum. That's the original sound. Just a little bit of EQ. Well, a little bit. Haha. And the Smash and Grab. A little bit of parallel compression here. Works really nice and is cutting through mixes really good. Spitfire Albion 1, cymbals 2. Also a really nice beefy gong. Sample Hero. I love these clock stopwatch sounds. Also Sample Hero, cymbal effects. These are wrong. Coming from my trailer template, so they are not utilized here. Going on, tune percussion. Hans Zimmer timpani. And I think I use key switches here. Yeah, I do. And this one is also heavily processed. There's, well, not heavily, but adding a ton of high end. And a little bit of boxiness to get rid of that. Then we have mallet flux, but not the engine with all the arpeggiators and everything, but just the individual patches. I will not play this. No, I will. So nice stuff there. Xylophone. Marimba. Cineperk. Then we have a little bit of more exotic stuff. This is a handheld sound again that we had for the other percussion, flying hand percussion. You have a really cool... When you press down the sustain pedal, you get like these interchanging... Cool stuff. And Cineperk Marimba. Don't even know what that was. Harp. Little drop out there, sorry. Cool sound there. Then I have some stuff. I have one instance of Vienna Ensemble Pro that is coupled. So that means it's not decoupled from the project, but it's coupled. So anything that I change in here is saved in the Cubase project. So I can, for example, go here to that patch and do changes and whatever. And it's like loading it into Cubase directly, but kind of offloading the work onto VE Pro. So there's a bunch of patches. That's strange. Okay, there we go. So for example, that's umlaut arps, just the kicks, and tonal tickies is a little library from Cinassembled. And so for example, this is a kind of patch where I would choose a preset or something on a per project basis. So, and this instance gets deleted every time I close the QS project and reloads when I reopen it. Sound effects is all the drones, Brahms, trailer stuff, risers, downers, etc. There is room for improvement because that's why I technically built my dedicated trailer template, where there's a lot of more sounds of these. But here's also the tempo a little bit up. Come on. Yeah. Cool stuff like that. Obviously, Brahms, you can never have enough. Alex Pfeffer's tonal hits. That's really good stuff. Some beef in there as well. Then we have hybrid percussion, doesn't contain much. This can grow. So hybrid and stuff like that. Going on, next section, and actually also a pretty big one, and I plan on even expanding that, is the ethnic, which is a lot of the stuff that Eduardo Tarlanti does, and some other stuff as well. So this is a lot of the Celtic era flutes. So stuff from the Eduardo Tarlanti libraries. Also the like Celtic era. This is the Really banjo from Really Tones. They have like this pattern player in the upper range of the octave. It's pretty cool. Persian stuff from Persian era. So really, really good. This is an old library I really love from from indigenous samples. Mountain dulcimer. Cool stuff. Also indigenous samples, I think. Orange Tree samples, mandolin, really love that sound. The Ron Rocco, this is sample phonics. This is just an amazing instrument. Cinematic Instruments hammered dulcimer. When you send this to this ultra long percussion reverb, nice sound right there. Time Micro has harp/mandolin combination, which sounds absolutely lovely. Yeah, then we have Ethnic Winds, played a little bit. Then we have a little bit of East-West, again, not East-West, Ethno World 6, some flute effects. How do you route MIDI channels to send effects directly? Well, every MIDI channel, this is the MIDI channel in Cubase, and each with a setup here, you can define what you want to see, and this is the instrument return that this VE Pro instance pretty much. And when you open that up, right here, you can see the individual audio returns, and you can assign, for example, here with a bamboo flute key, I can assign these woods, and then I have these controls available like direct routing and audio sense and stuff like that, and even inserts. So I say I want to have an insert effect on this specific flute. Well, it is not on this MIDI channel, it is on the audio return. So when I have different MIDI channels coming back through the same audio return, the same effects applies to all the instruments. So that's the only downside, unless you go with one audio return per MIDI channel, which is kind of hilarious. But some nice sounds in Ethno World 6 as well. So, stuff. Now we have some ethnic strings. Again, Tarilonti stuff. That's very dry, for example. So I will just bring that up. RAM SP is on contact. What do you mean SP? Not sure. So then we have some more mallet stuff, more of the ethnic type. World 6, lock drum. Sound iron circle bolts. Oh, Semperphonics. Semperphonics is contact, yes. Ion up here. What is Vienna Pro Ensemble exactly? Vienna is an external host that can host your contact instruments, so you don't have to have them in Cubase or whatever DAW you use in itself. So you offload the workload to, for example, different machines. In my case, I have 3 PCs that host the instruments through Vienna Ensemble Pro, and Cubase acts just as a communicator with these instances. So that flute that I'm playing is the instrument itself. This is just the MIDI channel. The instrument itself is sitting in the instance of Vienna Ensemble Pro. So host like VST accelerator, kind of, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it accelerator, but yeah, it hosts the VST instruments, or in this case, for the most part, the not plugins, but really, yeah, like Contact or Play or whatever libraries you use, or Synth or whatever. Ram asked to see the Ron Roku again. Just need to find out where I actually have it. It's on Master Aux. There we go. That's little contact instruments. So it's really a very good instrument. Where were we? At the circle bells. Oh yeah. So next one, again, Etno World 6. All kind of belly That's actually from the Spitfire. Now it's Labs. This is still the old Contact version, but that's a free instrument. Would you use VE Pro for one machine? I did that quite a long time to when I only had one machine. It really helps, especially when working with Cubase. It helps Cubase to concentrate pretty much on its own tasks instead of hosting the samples as well. So it, in my opinion, or in my experience, it definitely improved the overall performance, even when you utilize it just on one machine. Which method less increases the size of the CPR file, which is the Cubase file, in case you don't know, so the saved project. Disable instruments track or VE Pro instance in coupled mode. I saw an session guitarist in the VE Pro, but it will be changed from track to track. Exactly. So I think there is no really difference if you have a coupled instance of VE Pro external or host the instruments in Cubase directly. The only difference is that the VE Pro instance offloads the workforce from Cubase with the instruments. Nevertheless, stuff that gets changed from track to track that you're working on is sitting, I will get to that in a little bit, is sitting in that coupled instance and can be changed on a per project basis, like this session guitarist, for example. Let me finish here. Spitfire Plug Piano, also a free library with the Spitfire Labs. Then we get to guitar and bass. So we have scoring basses from Heaviosity. Quite a good bunch of stuff. If you're interested in more of that, look into Heaviosity's demonstration videos of this library. It's really cool. Now we have scoring guitars, also really great for layering. Very cool. Audio Imperia trailer guitars, just some of the motors. Which is not connected, strangely enough. Is this sitting in ethnic as well? Let me check something for a second. Scoring guitars, vocalies, harps. I don't know why this is not working right now. I mean, with such a big template, it happens that some of the stuff gets lost along the way. Good old Orange Tree sampled slide guitar. Pretty cool. Chocolate Audio Uproar Raw. Really good stuff. So that's cool if you need a quick solution for some riffing badass guitar stuff. Nevertheless, I also have audio channels prepped, ready to go for. Let me check something. Does that work? I need to send this to B1. Damn. This is all pre-wired and pre-set up with a bunch of guitar effects, so you can just plug in your beauty, activate, Wrong channel. Guitar in. Yeah, that's wrong. It's actually the mic coming through the amp. Bring that to the center. And now, wow, I'm sorry for that. I don't know what is happening. What? Something is wrong. It's kind of sad for the moment. Let me just mute the mic for a second. Maybe that helps. So honestly, something is a little bit off with the routing, but that is because of my of the voice meter that I use to get the stream data into OBS. So usually I just plug it in and it works, so I can record upstairs acoustic guitar or just a little bit of electric guitar. Then we have some, and this is where Polygraph's question comes in, some stuff that is coupled, so that is not sitting like the other instruments in the VE Pro, but gets changed on a per track basis. So, for example, I use this on a track, and the next track I use a different sound. And this gets saved within the project, so whenever I open it up, it doesn't matter if I change it. Greetings from Syria. Thanks for your kind words, and glad it's helping. That one is not working at all. So Session Guitar's pick just released. Going on to vocals, Oceania. Lacrimosa. And I think... yeah, this is a key switch control. Actually, I have an expression map for that, but I haven't used them in a while. So... So, I have the newest Dimeric URC interface in my studio since 2 weeks, connected by USB 3.1. In the loopback function, you can get rid of voice meter. Upstairs, I do have the RME babyface, and there you also have the loopback function, so I don't need voice meter. It's just downstairs because here I have just an Audient 14 ID 14 interface, where there is no loopback function, unfortunately. So, time macro choirs are in this as well. Reminds me that I need to write some Christmas tracks. Actually, that's a good idea to use the time mac requires for that. I am late. Is it over? Yes, unfortunately, I have to tell you, everything is over. Besides the stream, that is still going strong. Thanks for watching, by the way, everyone. It's tiring to go, but since people asked me what type of libraries I use in my template, so it's a long shot to go through everything, but well. So time mac requires, time mic requires. There's some interesting stuff in here. Na clockwork. So, vocalies. Especially the scapes are amazing. How many instruments are in this template? This number on the left here is the number of MIDI channels we have in this template. So it's close to 1800 MIDI tracks. Not working. Yeah, especially the Thera Gold legato is really good. Turn that down a little bit. Moretta's legato for Audio Imperious Jaeger. Awesome singer, even more awesome person. I just love her, great singer. And Ethera phrases. These are really good for some stuff when they work. Cool stuff there. And then we have the synth section. I was playing the pianos already. And last but not least, there is just quite a bunch. Audio Imperia, Mystique, Sphere. These are a lot of these synth patches from there. And then the Omnisphere stuff that I have down here. So it's just from different, this stuff, these three are from different Audio Imperia photosynth libraries, Embers, Sphere, and Mystique. The Omnisphere pads are sitting in the coupled instance. So these can be changed on a per project basis. It's just all pre-wired and pre-set up, so I don't need to load anything. The recent live videos are on the channel, they are just not public right now. And I will look into that if I publish them later. But they are not lost, be sure about that. So next section after pads is RP stuff, all kinds of actually the 8DO aura stuff and all that stuff we had here actually belongs down there in the ARP section, so I need to clean that up. Lots of ARPs, and actually I do have the auras here. I just realized that this whole folder is kind of existing twice here, so I could actually say goodbye to these. So because we had them here already. Then again, Omnisphere. That's actually an Omnisphere patch. Synth lead, synth basis. Just one Omnisphere here, so that can all change per track. Some other weird stuff that is not really clear where it belongs. The Heaviosity Stings from Evolve. And that's it. We are at the end of the chain. That was quite a lot to go through. Close all the folders. So this is an overview of the template of the included instruments that are sitting in VE Pro. The other thing is how this all works on the back end. So let's take a quick look. Let's take this first instance, for example, of VE Pro. So the strings, let's look at this. They're sitting on the computer. We have nucleus and fluid charts and cinematic studio strings, for example, in this instance. So Cubase connects these MIDI channels. Let's go with the fluid chart. No, let's go with come on, nucleus. So VE Pro allows for up to 48 MIDI channels, or MIDI ports, better to say, with 16 MIDI channels each. So you have the possibility of loading 48 times 16 instruments in one instance of VN Ensemble Pro. So like with this string instance that we here have in the master, so for example, this is MIDI port 2. So that means this MIDI channel sends to, you can see that here, master string MIDI in 2 on channel 1. So on channel 1, there is the legato. And when I open that up here, this legato gets sent back to Cubase you have up to 200. I set it to 200. You can have maximum 300, I think. So 200 outputs that get sent back to Cubase. So this nucleus violin long gets sent, the audio gets sent to Cubase on channel 11 and 12. So when we look at Cubase, on the actual instrument, VE Pro strings, that's the one. So these are the audio returns that you need to activate in the instrument here. So you go to activate outputs, and then you can, initially they named like this. And so these violins come back through channel 11 and 12. Unfortunately, I need to activate this if I change the channel. So we can see them here. The same applies to all the other instances. So for example, when I play, say, the time macro woodwinds high, sustains flutter. I need to turn that off. So sustains flutter, where are we? And they are sitting in my, no, they are not sitting in my woodwind instance, because this is orchestral tools, Metropolis, Arc, respectively Time Macro, and they have their own slot, which is here, OT, orchestral tools. So this, for example, is sitting in a different instance on my slave PC on MIDI channel 33, and it gets sent back to 79 and 80. So this is this channel here, which doesn't play when I don't activate this guy up here. So this is where the returns of the Piano Ensemble Pro instances come back. And this is also where I do most of my kind of mixing with the instruments. So say the nucleus violin. So when we look at the inserts, there's nothing in there. Yay, good showcase material. Let's look at the cinematic studio strings longs. So, and on the audio return, let me switch that on, the monitor icon. So this is the audio return, and there, for example, we have an EQ. Controlling some of the frequencies. This is just one example. Early on we were looking at the drums that are mixed, especially with some percussion has a little bit of treatment. So when we look at the percussion instance of VE Pro, that bad example. So frame drum has an EQ, actually cutting a lot of low end. Honestly, I'm still working on that. So the heaviosity, high ethnic ensemble. So sometimes I have my EQ settings within Cubase. So definitely what a lot of these tracks have is like the low pass filter on a bunch of instruments. high pass filter, sorry, low cut, because I cut a lot of low end in a lot of these sample instruments because you just get build up and build up and build up and it's all rumbling and you want to have a clean low end, so it won't reserve it for low drums and bass and stuff like that. Back to topic. These individual returns from Vienna Ensemble Pro get summed up into the first tier of group tracks, tier 1. So, for example, Nucleus has violins 1, violins 2, violas. These are all high strings in my definition. So they get summed up, and I still want to kind of separate long and short strings depending on, or basically due to the fact what I need to deliver later down the line when I export stems. And oftentimes I need to separate long and short notes for the stem delivery. So we have nucleus strings high long, nucleus strings high short. So that means all these returns from Vienna Ensemble Pro, violin spiccato, viola spiccato, cello spiccato, viola and violin spiccato. You can see that here in the routing. Goes to nucleus string high short. Whereas, for example, the cinematic studio strings violin long goes to CSS high long. So that's the first tier, CSS high long. This kind of puts together is a first summing of the individual signals. There's not a lot of processing going on here, if any at all. But that's just the way it is. It helps me keeping things organized. And from here, this signal gets sent into the next tier, which is even more combined and summed down. So now we have strings high short, strings high long, which means the nucleus strings high long goes to this, the Metropolis arc string high long, the cinematic studio strings high long, chamber strings high long, all that stuff goes into the same string high long stem, so to say. In between these stems, I have my reverbs. I will come to that in a second, what that means. First, I want to finish this. These stems, the second tier, finally get summed up into the third tier. And these are pretty much my main stems. So whenever I write something for a publisher or for a trailer house or whatever library, and they ask for the stems as the deliverables, when I'm done writing a track, I can select the output window, say I want to output multiple tracks, and this is where these kind of notes in front of the name come in handy. So there's an underscore here, you can not see that. There's 2 pluses for the second tier and 1 plus for the first tier. These are the only tracks that have this plus sign in them. So right now I can say when I want to export all the third tier stems, I just put an underscore here in the search window and have all the all these groups available. I can, if I use all of them, I can select all of them, export, done. So it names whatever my track name, and then it just puts this in the end, hyphenated and then underscore strings. And if, for example, a publisher tells me I'm fine with that, but what I need is differentiation in the strings, I need long and short strings and low and high, then I can deactivate this stem, go to ++, and instead of doing the third tier, I can do the strings the second tier and switch them on. That way I export everything from these stems, and instead of this string final string stem, I take these and export these. So makes my life much easier and faster in terms of workflow and efficiency when it comes to exporting. The only downside to this approach is that back to the reverb setting. So the reverb is sitting between tier 1 and tier 2, but gets sent to tier 3. Because otherwise I would need like I have 2 reverb instances long short. So if I would send this to tier 2, I would need corresponding to tier 2 6 reverbs for the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is a little bit overkill. So the downside to this approach is when I export these tier 2 strings, they don't have the reverb baked in. I haven't found a workaround for that yet, so I just need to solo that and export it individually. But usually what happens when someone asks me to have all the stems from tier 2, they don't want to have the reverb baked in anywhere, because usually what happens is it gets mixed outside by someone else, so you don't want to bake in the reverb anyway. Why you just not send all long strings to +++ strings high long? Why you make summing groups for library manufacturer? Because what happens is sometimes I just say, okay, the nucleus high long strings need a certain type of EQ that the cinematic studio strings don't need. And when I use both, I want to have the independent possibility to tweak them differently. And that's why I separate them in the first tier. So besides the mixing on the individual audio returns, I can also individually tweak the group. Which is kind of important for me to in my workflow. So, but my system is kind of dying a little bit, maybe due to the long time of the stream. Anyway, we are nearly through anyway, and someone asked what my mastering chain looks like, and honestly there's not much going on here in this template. My final masters right now just contains an SSL bus compressor. Usually what I do when I need to do a fast delivery, I just I am so sorry for the dropouts. Maybe I can reset. Into the stream directly. So at least, so this works. At least we can have the mic there. If Cubase ever comes back, we will have double the signal. So sorry. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, sorry, there. There's not much going on in the master, and usually I do that externally, not in this project. Again, sorry for all the sound issues, but that's due to the nature of the way this stream. Maybe for the next stream I just bring my baby face downstairs and plug that here, so I don't need voice meter banana. Might be the easiest way to do it. That shall conclude the walkthrough through my current affair status of my template. I know there was a lot of nerdy stuff, and a lot of people will not find that interesting at all. But if you do, leave a like, a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the YouTube channel. There is more stuff coming. I definitely want to do a video where we not talk about the sounds, but actually put it to use. But I think it would be best, especially with streaming going on at the same time, to do that upstairs in the main studio. That has just a little bit more power. For now, thanks for watching, and have a great night, morning, afternoon.